Hey everyone, thanks for coming and joining us on Voices of Vicenza. I'm here with some very special guests today, Giulio, Angelique, and Katie. So today we're going to be talking about some stuff related to PCSing to Italy, OCONUS generally speaking, and we're going to start off by discussing command sponsorship. So Giulio, you're kind of in charge of the command sponsorship, and Angelique and Katie, you both have a plethora of experience with what it means to be command sponsored, the process, and everything like that. So thank you for joining us. So
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Can you tell me a little bit about what does it mean to be command sponsored and why is it so important?
So command sponsorship is basically like what gives you the privilege and all of the entitlements that are attached to your overseas PCS to Italy. So without being command sponsored, you cannot access all of the privileges and all of the entitlements during like the PCS process and also the integration to in Vicenza per se. So that's why it's really important if you have a service member that's serving with family, with dependents, they will need to start this process like as soon as they get like their assignment. They will need to start with the FMP, which we're going to talk about later on.
Exactly.
And then also like with the command sponsorship, just to make sure that the dependents are in the orders and they will get full benefits once they get overseas.
Right. And those full benefits include household goods, per diem,
even registering kids at school. So like it's something as you would think is automatic, but it's not really.
Yeah.
So like all of the privileges that you get to serve overseas in a location outside the United States, it comes also with that benefit, and that is the command sponsorship. It's also a way for the Army to protect also the family members and make sure that there are services available for each individual dependent that's coming over.
Exactly. So it's absolutely a necessity when you're coming OCONUS.
Yes, ma'am.
And Angelique, you just experienced the OCONUS PCS. How was that?
Fearful. At the beginning, but I have to say EFMP was the scariest for the command sponsorship because there's so much that entails in that, and one of the first things that you have to do is make an appointment for a physical because you have to have a physical within a 1-year time period. And when you look at the various medical centers everywhere, that there's limited appointments available. So as soon as you get your RFO or request for orders, make sure you go get your physical done so you can get your EFMP screening.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say EFMP can definitely be daunting, but it is for the benefit of the service member and their family, right? And it includes things like IEPs, you know, which are very important for the family members. And so it's more about ensuring that the medical facilities here can support you and your family. Katie, do you have any experience with EFMP?
Yes. Well, we have 4 kids, and 2 of which have IEPs.
Okay.
And so we definitely had to make sure that all of those things were going to be taken care of because we didn't want to get to Italy, get over here, and then realize that our kids might not get the support that they need.
Right.
Of course, they were able to, which is why we're here. But immediately, as soon as we got the RFO, like Angelique said, the request for orders, we made doctor's appointments and worked with the schools that were helping us with the IEPs to get all of that paperwork sent and processed to the correct people so that we could get that command sponsorship as soon as possible because it does take time. Right. I mean, there's, I don't know, Julia, thousands of people that come in and out every few months.
Yes, it's a very lengthy process, like Katie said. It varies from installation to installation and case by case basis, and the packets get reviewed at so many different echelons before it's actually approved,
right?
And then you can finally say, well, my dependent is command sponsored, and then they can move forward to the passport and visa, which is another obstacle or another requirement that may say just to get to Italy, which
And I mean, thankfully, we have some general timeline on the PCS guide, which is on the Garrison Outlook. So if you're wondering kind of the timeline for command sponsorship or EFMP or passports and visas as well, they do kind of give you a little bit of an estimate, right? So I think for me, the process probably took about 3 months cumulative, which is very reasonable. You know, like you ladies were saying, if you go get your physical for the EFMP and kind of get ahead of the game, no issues.
Yes, get that first step started.
Exactly.
Because if you don't have that, then every other step can't fall in line.
Exactly.
So get the physicals, get the paperwork as soon as possible. Because I don't know if they do like a 3 to 6 month timeline, but I would say hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Exactly.
You know, if you're supposed to be PCSing within 6 months and it says it takes 3 to 6 months to take care of it, it could sometimes take 6 months. I mean, there's just things happen.
Yes.
Certain places don't always have the right paperwork.
Right.
Certain, it like plan that it's going to take 6 to 9 months.
Yes.
Because if you plan for the worst, hope for the best, then maybe you'll get ahead of things. I mean, we've been part of the Army for a long time. And the more I do that, the more I plan for the worst, the more I'm like, oh, okay. It's going to be all right.
Let's do a happy dance when we get the command sponsorship in the email there.
They said 3 to 6 months, and I planned for 6 months, and I got done in 5, so now I feel good. But if I was hoping for 3, and it took 5, then I'm just disappointed and upset and even more stressed.
Yeah, exactly.
Which,
we all know that PCSing is just kind of stressful to begin with. Yes. So anything you can do to kind of alleviate that is always good.
I would like to add, though, that the EFMP process is important to get your command sponsorship. Mm-hmm. You cannot get command sponsored unless you're cleared.
Exactly.
From EFMP. So it's important that our new families understand that it's not command sponsorship and EFMP two separate. No, you need your EFMP clearance before you even get, because when you get your RFO, it's the service member's name are on the orders. Mm-hmm. No family members are added yet. It says family members, yes, at this point. Mm-hmm. But once you're cleared for EFMP, then individual names get put on the orders.
It is actually a very fair point what she says, because in fact is actually the very first step. As soon as a soldier received like a request for orders, the RFO, you will have to get into EFMP and actually get the process started, and that will start like the screening process, which is part of the command sponsorship package.
Yep, exactly. So it's the first step in the command sponsorship process, like you said. And then after you have your EFMP approval, you can get your passports and visas, right?
Yes.
Command sponsorship, and then you can go ahead and apply for your passports and visas. Now, there's a few different types, tourist, no fee, and official passport. Mm-hmm. Now, in our case, because I'm also a spouse, we get the no fee passports, whereas DA civilians will be receiving official passports. So no fee passports are strictly for military dependents. And that is something that you want to put your application in for as soon as you get that command sponsorship paperwork, because that will then allow you to apply for your visa. So,
and that should be handled at the local. Like if you're a family that's close to or on a military base, it's handled with your local passport office is the ones. It's the only downfall that I find is families who don't. They have to, or who don't live near a military installation, they still have to, they can utilize National Guard or the reserve locations, the closest ones, they can use their passport offices for no fee also. It's not the same as our tourist passport. And I think it's important to understand that.
The first time around, I was going to school at Michigan State University, and so the closest to me was actually where my grandparents were living up in Alpena, and they have a Air Force National Guard base there, super, super small, but coincidentally they have a passport office. So I drove about 4 hours north, and it's a little bit easier if you're able to go that route because they're familiar with the process. But it was definitely super seamless, and then I received the no fee in the mail, and then they assist you with the visas.
Absolutely.
Which the Misone visa is absolutely necessary to come over. Do not come over Oconus without a Misone visa.
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it.
If you have a tourist passport, great.
Yes.
Not the same.
Yes.
You must wait for no fee and your visa.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's, as some people have found out, very, very, very expensive to travel back and forth to get those things done.
A lot of people get also confused. They ask me all the time. I was like, Julie, what's the difference between the no fee passport and a regular passport? Because they look the same. The only difference is the very last page of the passport that says the bearer of this passport is a family member of the armed forces soldier, and that's the right passport where the Missione visa would actually be placed on, and that is the only way that you can enter Italy legally. Yes. And a lot of people are asking me also, why can't I just come to Italy and just get that process started? The whole point of a visa is just to ask permission to the country that you're trying to enter to get all of the proper documentation prior to. So that's why now the visa cannot be processed here. It has to be processed at the losing command.
Exactly. Yes, you cannot apply for an Italian visa in Italy. Absolutely not.
I know a lot of people are also pressed for time because you might have a short report date that you have to report pretty soon. I would recommend to everybody just try to talk to HRC, just to your chain of command. Try to talk to your branch manager. defer your orders to the right until your dependents have the visa,
Yes.
or the service member has the option to report in advance and leave the family members behind until they have the proper documentation and they can enter Italy legally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Because without a visa, you're allowed 90 days stay here, and then you got to go back home.
Yes, and the Army will not pay for your travel back home
and back to
the States. They only pay for one travel. So that's, unfortunately, that is a lot of the miscommunication. And what I've also just like recommend, like you said before, refer to the PCS guide. So like we have an amazing PCS guide in our Garrison page, and we have the ask a question button now. It's a new feature that we actually created recently at the Garrison. So if you have any questions, like, you know, you can always just kind of get to the bottom of the page and click on the ask a question. You place your query, and then we'll reply back in about 24 to 48 hours. And at least like you got the right answer from the horse's mouth.
Yes, you get an answer from the people who know.
Yes.
It's not like when you post something on Facebook and spouses pages, which you'll take a deep breath. It's okay. We know that everybody wants
resources only.
Exactly. I want to see what everybody else is doing. But if you want the real answer, the actual answer, I mean, it's just like posting on Facebook. Just press that button, ask your question, and you'll get official and information, which when you're PCSing, that's what you need. Don't take advice from everybody else. It's get right from the horse's mouth of what exactly is happening, because
there's so much happening, and there's so much paperwork, and you want to be able to speak to somebody who knows whatever their topic of choice.
And communication got even easier now with the My Army Post app.
Yes.
My Army Post app is like, so it got recently implemented. And I've downloaded it on my phone, and it's pretty useful. So just like, you know, everyone can just download it. You can choose the location where you're actually going to PCS.
It works everywhere.
It works everywhere in the Army. It's pretty new, and it has like a newcomer section we have created. So like it's tailored by demographics. So now it's even easier for personnel that's coming over to Italy, whether you're civilian, service member, dependent. You can just like click on the newcomers section and just like get all the info that you need, and you can get a hold of us.
And I mean, I would like to say, I'm going to put a little plug in for our everybody who works on the Garrison. If you have any questions, because truly sometimes when you're in a limbo stage, losing unit, gaining unit, you're like, who do I ask? You know, like there's so much out there. And even our PCS guide, at least for me still, and this is our second time here in Vicenza, it can be overwhelming. Don't be afraid to reach out to like the people here, like CPF. I mean, absolutely incredible. I say it all the time to everybody. I love everybody who works on post. You know, they're so helpful. And if they don't know the answer, they're going to find the person who can get you the answer. And they're going to help you, even if it means they have to hold your hand throughout the process. You know, when I went through a little bit of a passport debacle, and Raymond over at the passport office was absolutely incredible. He's like, don't worry, I've got you. Let me email it on behalf. You're CC'd. And it took a little bit, but I got the answers that I needed.
We're definitely eager to help over here. So just like I tell everybody, don't be shy. Just shoot us an email. Just give us a phone call. Just tell us whatever. You know, we've been in contact how many months before you guys got in?
Since the day we found out we were
I think we were all excited for them to come back.
And you guys are repeat offenders.
We are repeat offenders, yes. But one thing real quick that I would like to add on the visa, the other importance is without the visa in the passport, you're not getting your soggiorno, which is your allowance to stay here longer than the 90 days that a tourist would be able to. So
exactly,
I think it's important that they understand
I am a frequent offender with that, and Martha over at the Soggiorno office is absolutely phenomenal. We are such good friends now. She said, oh no you didn't, and I said, oh yes I did.
Yes, for those that are not familiar, like the Soggiorno is basically after the visa, and then people that are coming over, you need to have like obviously the visa to that's the minimum requirement in order to enter legally Italy, and then upon arrival you would apply for a Soggiorno, which is like kind of a green card, and that would actually allow you to stay through the entire tour. And so that it's just done as soon as you get to CPF, like during in processing. The biggest hurdle is that no fee passport and visa, or that official passport and visa, or the tourist passport with visa for contractors. So those are the three categories that you need to make sure that visa, without the visa, you not getting in.
And then once you get here, it's kind of smooth sailing. You know, Soggiorno's fairly easy. You know, you just got a quick pop in downtown. For your paperwork and everything like that. So, a random question, but what would you ladies say? So what's your first memory of Vicenza? So obviously we've gone through the command sponsorship, EFMP, passports, visa, and you're here on the ground and you're like, finally, you know, all this work. Like, do you have a memory where like, wow, this is my first time in Italy and this is what I remember? Like, was it gelato, cappuccino, hopefully something positive?
I'll let you start.
Oh,
that
no. Go ahead. Well, so when we arrived, we had 2 dogs with us, and anybody that's traveling with dogs, good luck. It's just stressful, and then there's a lot that goes into it. Another podcast. But so we had 2 dogs, and I just remember getting off of the airplane, and we're going through whatever where they're checking your passports. Can't think of the
customs.
Thank you. Yes, not hard to think of. Anyways, we're going through it, and I could hear one of my dogs barking, and I was like, "Oh, there she is." Okay, good. Like in my mind, she was there. She was off the plane. Yeah, like, and they were together, so I knew they were there. But I hear her barking, and then she stopped. And they're beagles. They bark. That's what they do. And so then she stopped, and now I'm stressing. I'm like, oh boy, what's happening? What have they done? What's going on? I get out. We finally get through customs, and we get over to the dogs, and there are like 4 or 5 Italians working in the airport who are just like loving on my dogs and just happy as can be, and they're like wagging their tails and just super like, that was what my first thing was, like getting to Italy was like, we're gonna be okay. They were taking care of my dogs so greatly, and I thought like, and the people who had, they were not dog handlers. They were just people like in the airport.
Italy is very animal friendly, dog loving. And they love kids. And, so
absolutely.
That was my very first like Italian.
That I'm sure like that is also like worrisome for some people. Obviously, they've never been in a CONUS location, especially if you're moving with kids. How is their perspective like now that you have kids overseas? Like,
so for ours, we're repeat offenders, but she was excited. I'll say the first time she was really excited. She was like, ooh, new country. And so the love from Europe in general, Europe in general loves their kids. So, but here it's very family.
And just having the opportunity
to
experience Italy. It's amazing. It's a once in a lifetime or multiple experiences in your case. Well, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for coming on the show. I'm hoping we can do another one of these very soon, and I really appreciated your perspectives and information on command sponsorship, and I think we had a really, really great discussion. And so for those of you with any additional questions, you can go ahead and visit the PCS guide on the Garrison Outlook, and thank you for tuning in to Voices of Vicenza.